right, welcome. We're going to get started in just a second. I just wanted to show the finished painting. Here we're going to do a gorgeous seascape. This is a perfect video for beginners. We're going to cover all the steps and processes that we use with watercolors to get this finished painting completed. So we're going to cover all the details of getting our perfect horizon line for our sea, distance sea horizon line. We're going to cover how you're going to get that perfectly level across your paper. We're going to cover how you're going to get the ocean colors in here with some white surf coming in and some waves and crashing waves, some splashing waves. We're going to kind of cover all of that here as well. We have some sand on the beach. We're going to cover the colors you're going to mix for your sand. And as well, we're going to cover the clouds and the sky washes, how you're going to get this beautiful sky wash completed. And then even at the end, we'll do a few little details. We're going to do some seagulls in this scene. So you're going to learn all of these variations on this seascape scene in watercolor, and this will be your perfect painting that you're going to work on. You're going to maybe do 5, 10 of these, and this will be a painting you have forever that you'll always be able to go to and paint and enjoy it, and you'll perfect it as you go. So let's get started. We'll start doing our sketch next, and we'll get our hash marks on our paper so that you can kind of see how we're going to lay out the ocean and the sky. So we're going to have the sky about 2/3 and the ocean about 1/3 here. So you'll see how we're going to do all that next as we start this painting. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for stopping by. And if it's your first time here ever, I really appreciate it that you come by and watch my videos on YouTube. And I hope you'll subscribe too if at the end of the video you like my work and you like our tutorial here. I hope you'll subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and we'll continue to work together in the new year now. And you'll be really benefiting with learning all the techniques and methods that you want in watercolor. And we'll get started right now. All right, so we just saw our finished painting to start with. So then we just ask ourselves, well, how are we going to get to that finished painting from just having some fresh paper and tape down to our board here? How are we going to get to that finished painting? We'll go step by step here. I'll kind of just show you what I do to get to that result. And, you know, if you're an extreme beginner and you're just starting out, I can totally understand. You know, you have a lot of questions when you're doing your paintings and artwork, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to just kind of let you know these are kind of the basic steps you take, and then you just keep working on them. And I also find that this is one of the key tips of this video is if you can keep painting this same painting over and over again, each time you do it, you'll learn something new. So you might do 10 or 20 of these paintings, the same exact painting, with maybe some minor variations if you like. But for the most part, if you can do the same painting maybe 10 or 15 or 20 times, each time you do it, again, it's going to get a little easier. You'll be a little more familiar with each of the steps, and it'll go a little smoother, a little better, and your paintings will look better. For the most part, probably each time you do it, it's going to look a little better. Although sometimes you might get you know, a couple paintings in between the first one and maybe the 10th one. You might get a few in between there that don't look so good. That also happens, but you will see overall progress and you know, improvement as you paint the scene over and over again. And that's what artists do. We all, as artists, we always continually paint the same style paintings. We might change the scenery a little bit here and there, but we're basically doing the same methods, the same techniques, the same steps and processes over and over and over again. So that's all we're going to do here. And if you're always tuning into my channel, you're going to learn all of these steps, and they'll become just part of your routine after a while. So let's start out. The first thing I like to do is I like to, just for a quick, I like to do a good dark pencil line around for the video, of course. So this way you can kind of see my rectangle here, and it's my pencil line is going right along the tape. So I have my paper taped along the outside edge. This way when we're done, we'll lift up the tape and we'll have a nice white frame around our painting. So then we have that completed. And then we're going to go over some of our art tools and some of our supplies in just a second. Well, maybe we'll do that now. The first thing I like to, you know, I just have a number 2 pencil we'll use to draw. And then for our brushes, we're going to use the brush that comes with our Prang Oval 16 set. So that's what this looks like. You can get this online or at your art stores or big box supply stores or your hobby and craft stores out there. So you have like Michael's and AC Moore, and you have your big box stores like Blick's and Jerry's Artsorama, and you have all kinds of online stores for art supplies. Blick's has a site online. I buy a lot of my art supplies from Blick's online. Also Amazon. I buy a lot of art supplies on Amazon. So you can find this Oval 16, Prang Oval 16 set on all of those places. You know, either online or in the stores, you'll find it. And this is all you need. You just spritz the paint. You're ready to go. You can paint. Spritz with a little bit of water. These spritzer bottles, you can find these anywhere. They're in all kinds of places, you know. You can find them in like your pharmacy stores. You can find them in the big box stores, the art supply stores online. I use Holbein spritzer bottles. And again, I just spritz my paint about 5 minutes before I start painting. And that's all I need to do. And then you just open up, you spritz your paint, you're ready to go. When you're done, you just close your palette, you put it to the side, or you leave it on your art table. And then in a week from now or a couple days from now, if you want to paint, you just open it up and you do the same thing. You just spritz the paint, and in 2 minutes, you're ready to paint. These are the perfect beginner's watercolor sets for your paints. And again, I have my paintbrush that comes with this set, which is good for the smaller details. And then I also buy, for my beginner series, I use Princeton Art and Brush Company, the synthetic brushes, synthetic watercolor brushes. And they come in all different sizes. And I think when I bought the set, it came with like 6 or 7 brushes for like $10. So it's a great buy. And this is a great buy too, maybe $8 or something for a paint set. So you have your paints for like $8 or $9. Maybe you can find them less expensive. And then these brushes, they all come in a set like this. And there's maybe 1 or 2 more brushes that come with it for like $10. So you have a bunch of great brushes that come with the set. But we're just going to use our 2. The one that comes with this. And then our Princeton Art and Brush Company synthetic brush, watercolor brush. And then again, I have just a number 2 pencil here that we'll use to just sketch in our pencil lines as we need to go. And then also too, we have just a water container. I use water containers mostly, like this. Holbein makes them. They're plastic. They're collapsible, so you can fold them up and put them in a duffel bag or a backpack when you paint outdoors. And then you can use them, of course, in the studio or at home. Or you can use just a glass bottom, like a heavy glass with a heavy bottom on it so it doesn't tip over when you're using it. So this is good to use. Sometimes I used to use these all the time. And then maybe a sponge just to take a little bit of water off your brush next to your water container. So that's all you really need, and you're all set. So what I'll do is we'll start out, and I'll just slide this over for a second here. So the first thing I like to do is I just always mention that when we're doing this ocean, this seascape scene, I want to make the scene look really pleasant, really positive and pleasant looking, beautiful looking. So the first thing I realize is I don't want to just haphazardly put in the ocean where the ocean horizon line is without kind of planning out where I want to do that. So the thing is, I want to go about 1/3 up from the bottom of the paper with my horizon line for my ocean. So what you can easily do is if you have a ruler, this is a perfect way to utilize a ruler. You could just measure how high your canvas is or your paper. And right here it says 24 centimeters, or if I use the inches, it's approximately 10 inches. So it's approximately 10 inches or approximately 24 centimeters. So what I do is centimeters seem to work good for this. So let's try, if we split 24 centimeters into thirds, that would be 8, 16, 24. So I'll take my ruler and just put it on the edge of the paper and say that, okay, that's 8 and that's 16 here. And now I have my 1/3. So does that make sense? We're just kind of getting some hash marks here on the side of our tape on our paper, so we kind of can better judge where we want to put our horizon line for our ocean. So what I'm going to say is I want to have my ocean a little bit above 1/3. So I'm going to say, okay, a little bit above 1/3, that's going to be where my ocean is here. And then I'll just take my ruler and set it on my paper like this and kind of just get a hash mark over here. And then next, what I'm going to do is take some artist tape. You can use, there's lots of great tapes out there. I suggest always using really high-grade painter's tape. So this is the green frog tape. You can find in any of the big box stores like Home Depot and Lowe's and all those great places. You can find it online too on Amazon. Frog tape, or I also use 3M, Scotch 3M tape, purple. And this is really good too. It won't tear your paper. So if you use the green or the purple, so this is the frog tape or the Scotch purple tape, Scotch 3M purple tape. These painter's tapes will not tear your paper up when you lift it up. Also, I use Pro drafting tape, Pro brand drafting tape. This works great too. It won't tear your paper. So I'll use the Pro drafting tape here, and I'm going to go right across those 2 lines we made, hash marks we made. The only thing is I want to go above it. So I'm going to put my tape on the bottom of my tape is at the hash mark where we said the ocean is going to be, the ocean horizon line. So all this is going to do is give us a real crisp, beautiful, clean line for our ocean. That's all you have to do is just put that piece of tape on there and press down right where it meets the top of the ocean horizon line, just like that. And you can leave this tape up here loose. You don't have to press this down really so much. You just want to get this bottom line here where the ocean's going to be. And that's all you have to do. So that is really your start to your painting. And again, you can do these in a smaller version if you like. You can make these into small compositions, or you can even go larger and do larger. It all depends on what you're going to basically do as a beginner. You know, you can work larger formats or smaller. You can make smaller format paintings, compositions. It's all up to you. All you have to remember is when you do larger paintings, you just have to use larger brushes. So if we were going to do a larger painting than this here, and this is maybe like a 10 by 14, if you're going to do something larger, you might want to bump up to like a 1-inch flat brush like this. You can kind of see that's a pretty good size brush there. But for this one, all we need is this 5/8 that we have. That should be plenty for us. Okay, so that's all. You're going to use a larger format, you use bigger brushes, and the same thing if you're going to use smaller format, you use smaller brushes. So you might bump your brushes down a little bit and then use your Pro Art flat brush here, and this is a number 6, Princeton Art and Brush Company number 6 flat brush. So if you're going to go with a small format, you use a smaller flat brush. You obviously don't want to use a really large brush on a very small painting if you're going to do some small compositions. And that's really the gist of it as far as adjusting your brush sizes for your paintings. All right, so we've covered a lot of stuff already. So let's take a break. It's good to take breaks so we can just relax for a few minutes. We've done a lot of prep work before we start our painting, and let's take a break and we'll come right back and we'll start the painting. Okay, we're going to get started. We're going to do our painting now, and let's just make the quick little comment here about the tape that we just put on our Pro Art tape, or you can use any good painter's tape. We're doing the ocean horizon line here, and that's where the tape is, right along here. Press down really tight on the paper, and I just made a little mark here, and you can also make a mark along the paper too. I'm doing that so you can kind of see where I have my horizon line for my ocean, and that's all you really have to do there, and you have your tape already on there, so you're good to go. Let's mix up some colors here. So to mix up the darker colors, and again, we can use this as an example here. My water bucket's over here on my right-hand side, so over there on my right-hand side, over here is my water bucket. And I use that's where I have my water bucket, but here's another water container, and I'll just kind of leave it here for right now, just so you can kind of see how I'm working with my water. And I have a sponge too. You could check some water off on a sponge, or you can use a tissue. A lot of times I hold a tissue in my hand while I'm working, and I can take a little bit of water off my brush on a tissue or on this sponge so that when I'm working I don't have too much water on my brush, because that's sometimes a problem. You'll notice when you're painting watercolors, sometimes if you have too much water on your brush, it'll cause you problems where you'll flood out too much water in your palette, or you might be putting washes on your paper and there's too much water in there and it kind of starts to drip or form puddles and things like that. So it's always good you rinse your brush and then you tap on a sponge to take off a little bit of water, and then you can go and mix up some colors and so forth. So let's do that though. Let's get our first bit of colors mixed up. So we're doing some beautiful ocean. We're going to make some dark ocean colors here. So let's use blue here, blue, and then some of that green here. So we're going to make that a blue-green with a little bit of brown in there mixed, and a little bit of this green too. I'd like to make it a really beautiful green, dark green with some brown to kind of warm it up a little, and then that should be good. So I think we have enough here to really get our ocean started. So you can take your first bit of washes like this and just start. You can paint right over the top of your tape and just go right across and just have a fun time getting some of that darker color on there. What you're going to want to do is, as you're working, you're going to want to leave white paper. So let's keep mixing more colors. So now we're going to go back again and mix some more colors. Blue, a little bit of brown in there to just warm up that blue, some green, and some more green up here too. So two different types of green, blue, a little bit of burnt umber, maybe a little bit of orange. And then let's start leaving some white bits of white paper for some choppy waves here. And then let's go over here with some dark again on the top by the tape. Let's make sure that's good and dark up there along that tape line. And then as you can see, we're really having a fun time just really putting in some ocean waves here, and you want to kind of just have fun. Take your brush and just kind of go across, leaving white paper as you go, like so. And then what we do is we rinse off our brush, take off a little bit of water on a sponge, and then we start to mix a little bit of a lighter greenish blue color over here, like so. Maybe we add in a little bit of water so it's a lighter wash, right? This is really dark here, dark wash there. Then we start to lighten up a little bit here, and we're just going to start to do that. We're going to lighten it up a little bit and start to, like that. So we're going to lighten up the wash like that. And wow, does that look good? And then you can just add a little bit of darker. So you add a little bit of more straight paint, no water, and you can just add in some of that like so, just to give yourself some more feeling of water. You can splash a little bit on here with some water like this. You make a little bit of water splash here. I tend to like to leave the edges of the paper with paint and not much white paper there, like that. I'm going to splash on some water a little bit here and there just to give it a feeling of some water splashing around. It's the waves crashing in as we're coming into the shore here. And then we're going to start to get a feeling of some sand. So we're going to make some sand with some brown, a little bit of brown here. Rinse our brush, take off a little bit of the water on a sponge, and we'll get a little bit of orange. So we're going to use orange and brown, maybe a little bit of yellow too. So orange, brown, and yellow. And that gives us a really good sand color. And then we're going to take our brush and kind of just, we're using Fabriano paper, and I guess I'll show it right now so that we kind of know what kind of paper we're going to use. I'm using the Fabriano. It's very easy to find this online on Amazon. Fabriano Studio Watercolor. So that's my paper I'm using, and this is great student grade paper, but it performs like professional paper 100%. So it's less expensive than your really higher end Fabriano papers, your more expensive Fabriano papers, as well as Arches and some of the others. But this is a great paper for if you're a student just starting out in watercolor and you want really, really fantastic paper, but you don't want to pay a high price for it. This Fabriano Studio Watercolors is very reasonable. This might be something you mix in with some other papers you might try out or whatever, but I really find this is great paper for people that are just starting out. So if you're just starting out as a watercolor artist, this is a possible choice you have, but you can research it online and find all the other different papers, and there's many websites out there and more YouTube creators that cover all kinds of interesting things, and I have a couple videos on paper too, so you can always look up Chris Petrie watercolor paper and you'll probably see a couple of my videos on watercolor paper. And I have videos on brushes and paints and everything like that too, so I cover all of my materials. And I also have a new book out on Amazon which covers all my art supplies and art tools and brushes and papers, and of course all techniques and all the things that we cover here all the time on this channel. But as you can see, we've kind of did a beautiful first bit of wash here on this paper, and we've got a lot accomplished. We've got sand and beautiful ocean colors and ocean waves coming in, and then we're going to show you in just a second how you can we'll actually do it now. We're going to take our finer brush here, our finer brush that comes with our Oval 16, Prang Oval 16 set, and we're going to show you how you can shape some of these waves to look a little more realistic. So all we do is we go in and we get some of the dark paint that we were using when we first started, and then you just take that paint and you roll it around on your brush, and you can take a little bit of the paint off on a tissue, just so you take a touch of that paint off. You don't want too much on your brush, so you take a little bit of paint off with a tissue, and then you can take some of that and make those rolling kind of looks to your, you know how you see those little bit of those rolling, curling shapes? Some of them are happening here without, we didn't even have to do it, and we were creating that with our brush strokes. But here you can kind of see, you can just do a couple of those. And that's all. You do a couple of those, and it really, really makes it look so much better. Just like that. It looks fantastic. Look at that. How good does that look? And this is very simple, right? As a beginner. Now that's the thing I was mentioning when you're just starting out. Try to keep doing these. You know, you can do them in small format and make them in small compositions, or you can go larger and make them larger, or stick with maybe an 11 by 14 paper. This happens to be a 9 by 12. So these are a 9 by 12 sheets of paper that I'm using, the Fabriano. These are pads, and you just tear off your pages as you need them. This is one that I created just recently. Okay, so now we're at the point where we've got the bottom third of our painting done with our ocean. Let's lift up the tape. I'll move my water over here, and you'll see how good this looks. You just lift up your tape. Doesn't that look fantastic? A nice crisp line across your painting. That's the ocean. A beautiful crisp line. And then what we're going to do is we'll take another break, and then we're going to come back and do the sky wash next. And you're going to see how much fun we're going to have doing this sky wash. And it's real simple, and again, straightforward. And this is, again, a painting. If you're a beginner and you're just starting out, it's always good, if you can, find the real benefit in painting a specific painting over and over and over and over again. Because what that does is that will give you the confidence that you've got one painting that you really enjoy, and it's your go-to painting. And it might be that all through the rest of your painting career, you're always going to have a go-to painting that you like to go to, a favorite type of scene, seascapes maybe. Maybe it's going to be flowers are going to be your favorite eventually, or maybe some city scenes some street scenes, cityscapes. Maybe those will be your eventual favorite paintings to paint. But at least if I figured I would start out with ocean because everyone tends to like to go to the beach. You can go there, have like a book, read a book, have a chair, a little umbrella, just have a fun time, go in the water a little bit, listen to the waves crashing. It's like a real relaxing place, and it was for me growing up. So that's why I just kind of go back to my roots and enjoying the ocean so much and the shore. In the United States where I live right near the shore, so it's only, half an hour, 45 minutes, and I'm right at the beach, and I can hang out, and I go there often. So let's continue on in a few minutes. Let's just take a break, and then we'll start doing our sky wash, and you'll see how this all comes together in this painting, and we'll have an enjoyable time as we finish up the painting, okay? So we'll be right back. All right, so we're going to get started again, and what we're going to do now is start to get a little bit of fresh, clean water on our sky, on the paper. So what we'll do is I'm going to take water and basically, I think maybe I'll use my pencil here for just a second, and we'll just say that we're going to wet the paper about halfway over here like so. So I'm going to put a little light pencil line across here, just like this, so you can kind of see. So halfway about here, I'm just going to leave that light pencil line just so I know that's about where I'm going to wet the paper, and then I won't wet any paper below that halfway line. And this way it's going to be a little easier for us to get a nice wash in the top of the sky working down into the ocean without flooding too much water down and starting to affect the ocean. Because you see how we got that beautiful crisp line here? So we really don't want to disturb that too much. We don't want to disturb that line with too much water. And so what we always have next to us is some tissues. So you always have your tissues next to you, your tissue box. So in case you start to see some water flooding into an area or making a little bit of some unpleasant looking puddles of water in a mess, you quick grab some paper towel or tissue and blot up the puddles of water if you have to, if they're starting to drip down. So that's always your safety mechanism. You have some tissue by your art table when you're working, and if you need to, you can always quick grab your tissue and blot up some water if it starts to flow down and cause an issue anywhere else in your painting, wherever you're painting. It doesn't necessarily have to be this exact painting. It can be any work that you're working on, any of your paintings that you're working on. Tissues are always a great safety mechanism for watercolor artists, that you can always lift up a little bit of paint or a little bit of water or some puddles or some unpleasant looking washes quickly. And you don't want to constantly be doing that all the time, obviously, right? Like blotting up all your paint off your paper. But if you do have an issue, you will lift it up. And some artists do use tissues for techniques, so that while you're working, you can blot up some paint to give it more of an interesting look with some variations. So actually, it is you can use your tissues to fix a little bit of problems with puddles of water or water running down on a part of your painting you don't like to see that happening. Or also too, you can use it for a little bit of technique, like to maybe put some clouds in. So we'll use it actually here in this painting to blot in a little bit of some cloud shapes and so forth. So actually, it's just a great thing you'll practice as you get better at watercolor, using your tissues and to create interesting techniques, and also to help out with your washes when you're painting. So we have some fresh, clean water here. And again, we're just going to wet the top of the sky with some fresh, clean water, like so. But we won't wet the paper beyond the halfway point down this way here. So this is all I'm going to do up here is the halfway point, and that's it. And then I'll wet a little bit more up here. And then once I have that water on the paper, I'm going to let it sit for a second, and then we're going to start to mix some colors for our sky. So let's use what we use for the ocean. That's a good start. Then let's do some blue. So we want to use some blue here, like that. Mixing a little bit of that ocean water into the blue. So you will kind of harmonize the colors. And then we're going to do some orange down here, like that, with the sand color. So orange with the sand color, and I think that's all we need to do our sky wash. So let's go in and start out, and we'll put some of that blue up here, and then just let it flow down the paper. I'm just going to put the wash, that blue we mixed up, right up here. And that's all. We let it kind of just sit on there for a few minutes, and that's going to kind of create some cloud shapes up here. And you actually just let these washes kind of just happen. The puddles of water. Okay, now can you see how that kind of works? If you wet the paper and then you just gently put the wash on, and I'm picking up some of these darker colors up here. I want some dark washes up at the top of the sky, like that. And then we can start making some long cloud formations like this. So as the clouds in the distance go further in the distance, these clouds up here are closest to us. And then the clouds as they go down in the sky here, these are the furthest distance out in the farthest regions of the sky. Those become smaller, those clouds. So I'm just going to kind of do that. I'm going to just do some, can you see how I'm just dragging my brush real lightly across and making really thin cloud lines there? Just like this. Slide my hand across. So I have my hand on my working board that I use. So I can just slide my hand across the working board gently, and I can get these really beautiful parallel lines. This is what I'm doing, is some parallel lines like so. Just like that. And that gives you that feeling of the clouds going off in the distance. Just those mellow clouds there. Beautiful day at the beach here. You can take a tissue now and blot up a couple puddles if you see some puddles that don't look so good and they might be causing a problem. You'll see I'm just going to lift those up like that. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to lift that up. That was a really big puddle there. Then I can make a cloud shape with my tissue like this. So here I'll use the tissue to make a cloud shape like that. And over here too. Like that. Maybe I'll swirl it a little bit, like in a circular fashion. There we go. The key is not to overdo any one thing. So I did a little bit of swirling with my tissue, just a tiny bit. I lifted up a little bit of puddles, a tiny bit. I did a little bit of these parallel cloud shapes, just a little tiny bit. I'm going to add in a little bit of a darker cloud shape here and there. Just a little tiny bit like that. And then we're going to go in and get some of that orange sand color. And we're going to do some more parallel lines like this with that orangey kind of color. And that's going to be the horizon line of the sky where it meets the ocean. And then what I'll do is I'll lift up and clean a little bit of a spot out on the palette and get some more orange. I want that horizon line to be a little more orange and not as much of the sand color. And then what I'll do is I'll get some of that paint on the paper like I just did, that orange wash. And then I take my brush, rinse it good, tap off the water so that my brush is now just damp. but not flooded with water, just damp, because I'm drying it off on the tissue here. And then I'm just going to go right across where the water is. And I just want to blend that orange with the ocean. And I want to keep my brush just above the top of that ocean. I don't want to disturb that line, so I'm keeping my brush, if you can see, I'm keeping my brush just above that ocean line that we made with the tape. Then I do another same thing, rinse off the brush, take off the water so that I just have a damp brush, and then I'm just going to blend this into like this with the orange. So I want to go back and forth and blend that orange and that blue just like this. Maybe go back 3 or 4 times like this. Maybe a little bit of blue in there too. Then I rinse off my brush one more time, dry it off on my sponge. I get a little bit of that orange up top here, and I just blend it. A little bit of that orange color, just a tiny bit. And then I blot it up a little bit too, maybe. But I just wanted to get a little bit of that orange color in the sky, just a little bit, so that it kind of harmonizes everything together, the colors. And there we go. A couple of more bits of lines just to give it some more interesting shapes and lines in the sky. And I think we have a completed seascape scene here. Let's do this. Let's let this dry 100% now. We'll come back and we'll do a few seagulls, just so that we have a little interesting feature in the sky. And we have some speckles of sand here in the foreground, which looks really good on the beach. So if we do a couple seagulls in this scene, it'll kind of just give us a little detail in the sky area. And I think we'll be 100% completed. And then eventually, and maybe in the near future, we'll do another painting just like this. And what we'll do is we'll put some figures on the beach, maybe in some chairs or on blankets with some umbrellas. We'll add to this. So the thing is, if we can get this done and get this really solid and maybe do this 10 or 15 times so that we really feel comfortable painting this scene with a sky and an ocean and a bit of sand, if we can get this done and get it done many times so that it's really comfortable for us to do this, then when we go in and add in some figures and some other features maybe, it'll be real comfortable, because then we can just add in some figures and we already know how to do the rest of the scene. So the only new thing we'll kind of build into this seascape scene might be some chairs with a couple figures in there, or an umbrella with somebody sitting by an umbrella reading a book or something. So we're going to have a lot of fun developing these ideas that we're doing here on this channel. But always remember that when you're first starting out in watercolor as a beginner, try to get yourself a couple, 2 or 3 different paintings that you practice all the time, so that you're really comfortable with it, with this like seascape feel, with the beach, ocean, and sky. If you practice this over and over again, it'll help you tremendously. It'll build your confidence. It'll build your skills. You'll learn a lot as you go with each new painting. As you paint this exact style composition, you'll learn a lot from doing it over and over again, and then you'll have it in your repertoire for years to come. Okay, so let's come back. We'll do some seagulls after we dry the paper, and I'm going to use a blow dryer. You can let it dry naturally. It takes about, I don't know, maybe 2 hours, and it should be 100% dry. But if you use a blow dryer, it might take you only like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then you can start working in a couple of seagulls in this scene. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to turn off the camera and come back in a few minutes. And the paper will be dry, of course. I'm going to use a blow dryer, and we'll get started again. All right, we're back, and now we're just actually going to do some seagulls here. So what I'll do is I'll use my brush from my Prang Oval 16 set, the stock brush that comes with the set, and I'll just mix up a little bit of brown with some of the blue we already mixed up here. So some brown and some blue. Bluish green. And we don't want to make the seagulls, I would say, too dark. I would keep it a medium, kind of a medium wash like this. And then what I do is I like to get some of that wash on my brush, which is the brown mixed with a little bit of that blue and green that we mixed for the oceans and the sky. And then I just take a little bit of that paint and dry it off the brush, just so that I have my brush is not, totally dripping with paint. So it'll be a little bit easier to paint a couple seagulls. So maybe I'll just do a couple seagulls here. And it's basically just a couple, like a V. And once you get that shape in there and it looks pretty good, you can actually go in with a little darker wash and just touch it to the paper. Like that. And then maybe we'll do a few, and then I'll dry off my brush a little bit, less paint. And then maybe we'll do another. And I'll try to make my seagulls a little bit. I like to make them go a little bit different ways here. So you have one there, one like this. One like this here, mix a little more paint, take a little bit of that paint off the brush so there's not that much paint on the brush, and we'll do another one here like that, and then another one here like that. So I make them smaller as I go. They're large. I made a larger seagull up here. And then you can even just make some dots. I think that's fine. Just a little bit of interesting seagulls here in the scene, not overtaking anything, making them very small, very light, just so that there's a little bit of interesting things going on here in the sky, besides the clouds and the fun stuff we have in all the colors and things like that. And then maybe if we wanted to, we can get a little more of that. We might take some fresh clean water, so we'll empty our water, and we'll get some fresh clean water like that. And then we'll take some white like this, some white paint with water. And you can always splash a little bit of white paint on the water. That acts as like a little bit of a feeling of some of the ocean spray coming up into the scene. So that's always a good thing you can do. Like that. Not overdoing it. Again, just a little bit of ocean spray with some white and water and a little bit of the white mixture here on our palette. You could even finger tap a little bit of the white ocean spray. And we have a completed painting. The next thing I like to do is we'll peel up the tape just so you can kind of see the white border around the painting. Kind of frames it out nice, like you have it in a frame. Like that. So I'm so happy you're here. You're painting with me. We're all painting together, getting our skills polished up, and I hope you'll keep continuing to follow my channel. And again, it's if you click on the subscribe button down on the right-hand side below, that'll be a fantastic way to keep in touch all the time by seeing my videos in your YouTube channel. So whenever you open up YouTube, if you subscribe, you'll just see my videos there, because YouTube will just send you my newest and latest videos so that you can click on them and see what I'm doing and what I'm up to. And if you want to join along, please do. I'm so happy you're working with me together here on my channel. We're having lots of fun, especially if you're just starting watercolors. This is a perfect opportunity to kind of just join along with us each week as we go. We're working here week after week, month after month, and year after year, doing watercolors, everything watercolor, and we do all kinds of subject matter. So this week it's some seascapes. We might do flowers next week, and the week after maybe a city scene. And then after that, maybe we'll do some still life, some apples and oranges and a bowl of fruit, and maybe some, something different, maybe some portrait work or some figure work too, eventually, in the coming weeks. So we're always changing our subject matter, but we're always using the same techniques and methods in watercolor as we work here on my channel. And I thank you again for coming by. I hope you'll give it a thumbs up if you like this video and if you've learned something new. And I hope you'll stick with us here again. We're here all the time on YouTube. And it's just a great pleasure to have you with us here and painting along with us. So we'll see you on the next video, okay? Bye-bye.